Hello, a very good morning and welcome along to Ireland Day. Due to some technical difficulties, we've had a bit of a mess up in our studio, so we are being moved to the group chat this morning.
Here. I'm where Zara is, you're where Gavin is, and you're where Richard is.
Richard, am I Richard?
Richard, you're Richard Chambers for the day,
Am I Richard Chambers? That's no harm.
No,
Good morning.
It's a nice
No,
thing.
it's a nice thing.
It's all
Richard
politics.
Chambers for the day.
All politics.
Even though we're in a different studio, we have a great show for everybody.
We really do. There's loads coming up, and later on we're going to be catching up what's going on in sport this weekend. There was loads of things to catch up on. Leeds didn't do that badly.
Yeah, let's do okay if any Man United supporters out there. It was a tough weekend for you. Of course, you guys got to catch up with Graham Norton.
We certainly did on Friday before he did another show, some small little thing.
And his own one, you know.
And his own one, yeah. We had a great chat with Graham Norton. He's just so lovely. He knows it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's just brilliant.
We'll be chatting to him in just a little while about his brand new book, Forever Home.
And courting in the countryside. So this is a new book that is out at the moment, and it's all about the differences of dating between the city and, of course, in rural Ireland. We're going to be discussing that later on in the show as well. So plenty to come.
And then, more serious, at 7:35, the dark web.
Yeah.
Like, reading through it, amazing the stuff that's on that dark web, and like how you can get on it and how you shouldn't be on it, really.
All right.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
And Irish people are the third most, we're most likely to be on it than any other country. So we'll be chatting about that in just
Where's
a little
Deric
while.
this morning?
Deric, we think you're getting a new pet. Deric, how are you doing?
Oh, lads, look at this for a whole heap of cuteness. Good morning from our Farnham and South County Dublin. Quite a wet start through the west and across the northwest, and in fact quite a blustery day out there this Monday. Top temps 50 to 80, but just over my shoulder, guys, as you can see, we're down here at the DSPCA. They've got a brand new cattery. They've about 150 cats and kitties, and check out little Blackjack here. He's only 11 weeks old. He's nice and snug in here inside my jacket. So we're going to be chatting to the crew here on the ground in another wee while.
Brilliant
Good morning.
Oh, look how snug.
That's so cute.
Good
Deric.
stuff, Derek. Thank you very much.
If anyone
Bring them all
can
back.
adopt them today. Oh, look at that gorgeous little kitten.
And little Derek. Now let's get the news over in the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Cliodhna Russell.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. A murder investigation has been launched after a man was shot dead in a busy football clubhouse in Belfast yesterday afternoon. Two masked men entered the clubhouse at around 2:30, where people were watching a football match on TV, and shot the man a number of times. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Both gunmen left Donegal Celtic Football Club on foot along Suffolk Road. Brazil's top two presidential candidates will head to a second round of elections after neither candidate secured the minimum 50% of the vote. The presidential race has been marred by political tension and violence between supporters of right-leaning Bolsonaro and leftist former President Lula da Silva. The tightness of the result came as a surprise, since pre-election polls had given da Silva a commanding lead. Vigils have been held after 125 people died following a stampede at a soccer match in Indonesia. Violence broke out after a game on Saturday evening.
Hundreds of people joined candlelit vigils in Jakarta in memory of those who died in one of the deadliest sporting events in the world. Rival fans stormed this pitch in Malang after a match on Saturday ended Arema's 23-year run of undefeated wins on their home turf. Riot police responded with tear gas, causing panicked crowds to run to the exit gate. Many suffocated on the gas, while others were trampled, with more than 300 people taken to nearby hospitals. The fighting continued out onto the streets, where at least 5 police vehicles were toppled and set alight. Arema has been banned from hosting matches for the remainder of the season, while Indonesia's president has ordered a full investigation into soccer security procedures. Hannah Murphy, Virgin Media News.
US President Joe Biden and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, are travelling to Puerto Rico today to survey damage caused by 2 hurricanes in less than 2 weeks. Hurricane Fiona had already caused extensive damage to the island's critical infrastructure before Hurricane Ian caused even further wreckage. The Bidens also plan to travel to Florida on Wednesday. Crews there are continuing to rescue people still trapped by floodwaters.
There's more urban search and rescue teams in Florida now than in any one place in American history since September 11th. And if you think about it, there's been massive events that have happened since September 11th, and we have more here. And part of that is just a reflection that, yes, it was a very powerful hurricane. It was a big hurricane, and it cut across, the entire state of Florida.
From today, people looking for information about their birth and early life have a right of access to the information. A tracing service will also enable those who wish to make contact with birth relatives to register their information. Information requests can be made to the Adoption Authority of Ireland and TUSLA through the website birthinfo.ie. And finally, basking sharks are now protected wild animals under the Wildlife Act. From today, it's an offence to hurt or injure the sharks or willfully interfere or destroy the breeding or resting place of the shark. The basking shark is a globally threatened species which faces a high risk of extinction, and Irish waters are one of the most internationally important coastal regions for the sharks.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Emery. And a very good morning to you at home, or if you're indeed watching us online on the player. We're coming to you live here from our Farnham in South County Dublin this morning. We're off to visit the Cattery down here at the DSPCA. So lots of cute and cuddly little ones looking for homes as well. So that's all to come into the next hour. Anyway, let's take an opening look at weather together now with Martin Brigney on camera. It's this 3rd of October, and I cannot believe how dark the mornings have gone. There's a big slippage in light over the last week or so, and in fact out there at the moment, plenty of rain through the west northwest. In fact, the entire county of Donegal now covered by rain, also into Galway, Mayo, Sligo, Leitrim, Roscommon, and in fact parts of North Cork through Charleville, Buttevant and into Mallow not escaping either. So rain gear at the ready there, and you will notice it is quite windy out there this morning now in those strong and blustery southerly winds. Now right across today, in fact, we're going to see more of the wet stuff through Connacht, up around northern areas of Ulster, once again through the northwest into Donegal, and in fact the bulk of that rain, that's where it's going to hang for many parts of the day, and it will fall on the heavy and persistent side. Just a bit drier further east and southeast we go, with top temps today of 15 to 18 degrees. So across then into tonight, we're going to see the bulk of that rain track across the country. It's going to feed in a southeasterly direction, so a lot of us really getting a good taster of that wet stuff, waking up to another wet start into tomorrow morning, and still quite blustery overnight in that southerly airflow, with values there back to 11 to 14 degrees. So that's your weather here in our Farnham and South County Dublin at the moment. We'll catch you again back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
Welcome back now. A special Garda operation is planned for today's high-risk Regency Hotel murder trial.
We're going to have a lot more on that coming up after this short break. Don't go away.
Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, extensive security planned for Regency Hotel trial. A large security operation is expected to take place around the criminal courts of justice today in advance of trial proceedings surrounding the 2016 Regency Hotel shooting.
Energy crisis adds €60,000 to price of best insulated homes. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The energy crisis has started to affect house prices, with homeowners now willing to pay up to €60,000 more for energy-efficient homes rated B or higher. It has emerged.
The Examiner leads with alcohol sector providing school training. Secondary school teachers are being offered training in how to lead classroom lessons about alcohol by DrinkAware, an organisation that is funded by the alcohol industry, distilleries and breweries.
First-time buyers to get block levy relief is the top story on the Daily Mail. The Taoiseach has indicated that first-time buyers could avoid a new levy on concrete blocks introduced to pay for the cost of the Mica redress.
The Mirror goes with Hutch and Go. Senior members of the Hutch gang are set to flee Ireland over fears that they will be nailed for the Regency Hotel murder of mobster David Byrne.
The Star leads that same story, their headline, Trial and Terror.
And the Sun's front page, Monk gets hearing aids for his trial. Murder-accused Gerry Hutch will be provided with hearing aids as he goes on trial today for the 2016 killing of David Byrne at Dublin's Regency Hotel. Now, joining us to discuss the stories making the morning papers is journalist with the Irish Independent, Gabia Gadavashketa.
But first, as you heard, Gerry Monk Hutch is due to stand trial today for the Regency Hotel murder of David Byrne. And join us with a background to the case is News Talk and Today FM's court correspondent Frank Graney. Good morning to you, Frank. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, I think everybody watching this morning will know what happened back in the Regency Hotel 6 years ago. But can you just give us a quick synopsis of the situation and what we're looking forward to hearing today?
Well, this happened on the 5th of February 2016 when a team of armed men entered the Regency Hotel in Dublin. There was a boxing weigh-in going on at the time. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon, and some of those that entered the hotel with handguns and machine guns were dressed as Gardaí. Panic ensued, as you can imagine. Shots were fired, and ultimately David Byrne was shot 6 times. Now, this is widely believed and seen to be the origins of what turned out to be a gangland feud between the Hutches and the Kinahan cartel. In fact, it went back a year before that, and it was seen as a retaliation attack for the murder of Gerry Hutch in Spain. That feud went on to kill 18 people, and we now have Gerry the Monk Hutch extradited from Spain just over a year ago, and he is due to stand trial for David Byrne's murder. That trial is due to get underway before the non-jury special criminal court at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Now, you mentioned the Kinahans there, and of course, on that day in the Regency Hotel, Daniel Kinahan, who we all know now, you know, his name is known globally as one of the elites in the boxing world until the FBI, of course, put that stay on him. He was meant to be a target that day. What is Gerry Hutch accused of actually doing on that day in the Regency Hotel?
Yeah, it is widely believed that Daniel Kinahan was actually the target that day. He was there, but he did manage to leave the hotel unhurt. Daniel Kinahan has been named in the High Court here in Ireland as one of the leaders of the Kinahan cartel. What exactly Gerry the Monk Hutch is accused of doing in relation to David Byrne's murder isn't clear. Yet we will have an opening address from the prosecuting barrister today, and we'll have more clarity in relation to what the exact allegation against Gerry Hutch is. But all I can tell you for now is that he is charged with the murder of David Byrne.
And can you give me an idea why the trial's been heard before a non-injury special criminal court? What does that mean?
Well, basically, the DPP decided that the ordinary courts where 12 men and women would hear and ultimately decide on the facts of a case was not actually adequate in relation to this trial, the murder of David Byrne. The Special Criminal Court sits to hear primarily, obviously, gangland-related offences and also terrorism offences. Now, that was challenged by Gerry Hutch through the courts. He and his legal team went to the High Court and lost. They then appealed that decision to the Supreme Court, essentially challenging the jurisdiction of the Special Criminal Court to hear this case because, as you say, it will be heard by 3 judges and they will decide the case. There will not be a jury in relation to this case. And in general terms, the DPP can make that decision if there's a fear of witnesses being bribed or intimidated, for example. If there's any fear that the administration of justice won't be carried out properly in the ordinary course, they can make that application or certify a case to be heard before the Special Criminal Court, and that's exactly what happened here.
And of course, we're talking about a feud that has killed 18 people over the last 7 years, so you can understand why they're worried about that. Jonathan Dowdall has been on the front of lots of papers over the last few days, Frank. He's a former Sinn Féin councillor from Dublin's North Inner City, and he was due to go on trial with his father in relation to the murder of David Byrne, but now it looks like he has pleaded guilty to a lesser charge and he's turned state's witness, it looks like.
Yeah, a very dramatic development in this case last week. As you say, Jonathan Dowdall, a former Sinn Féin councillor on Dublin City Council, was due to be sitting in the dock today with Gerry Hutch, also accused of David Byrne's murder. But both he and his 65-year-old father, Patrick, last week appeared before the court, and both of them pleaded guilty to that lesser charge of essentially facilitating what happened at the Regency Hotel by making a room at the hotel available to the criminal organisation behind what happened to David Byrne. That plea was accepted by the DPP, and his sentence hearing, both their sentence hearings, are actually due to take place at 9:45 this morning. So that will all be wrapped up before Gerry Hutch enters the courtroom. I have seen some of the newspaper coverage over the weekend suggesting that Jonathan Dowdall is now going to give evidence on behalf of the prosecution, and he will be essentially a state witness. Again, you know, we'll have more clarity on how the trial is going to be run when Sean Gillan, the prosecuting barrister, opens it after lunchtime today.
Okay, fascinating. So just quickly, so what are we expected to see initially on day one of this, and how long do you think this might take, Frank?
Well, the first thing that will happen this afternoon is Sean Gillan will give his opening address to the 3 judges that will hear this court. And then we'll likely to have maps and photographs of the various crime scenes, the very relevant crime scenes, including, of course, the Regency Hotel. They will be shown to the judges. And then the first witnesses will be called to hear what's expected to be an 8-week trial.
8 weeks. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again. Frank Graney, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. And of course, it was quite dramatic with Jonathan Dowdall. And now, if he has turned state witness, he will have to go into witness protection, and his whole family as well.
We see pictures of it across the weekend, that there were guards parked outside his house.
Absolutely. And with family as well, it's all there. So we will be talking to Frank, I'm sure, again in the next 8 weeks. But Gabi is here as well with other stories. I know that you've been following that as well. But we're going to kick off with something that caught our news in the headlines today. And that's that the alcohol sector is providing alcohol awareness training in schools.
Yeah, really quite a fascinating story. So about 15,000 secondary school students have actually received this course. It's from Drink Aware, which is of course sponsored by the alcohol industry.
Teaching you how to cook a Christmas dinner? Do you know what I mean?
It's a course that's being, I think it's third-year students in secondary schools that have received the course. So 15,000 of them. I suppose it's an option for schools there to use, and some schools have availed of it. Now, the HSC this week will issue, I suppose, a statement to schools saying that, you know, you should not be engaging with materials from the alcohol industry. I know alcohol awareness campaigners have come out and said, well, we wouldn't get, you know, the tobacco industry into classrooms to say, how can you smoke safely? Yeah. The HSC is really dead set against this, as is the Department of Health. You know, they've issued very clear statements to the Irish Examiner saying that you should not be, or schools should not be using, you know, alcohol industry materials to teach students. But interestingly, I thought the Department of Education said, well, it's up to schools, whatever materials they should use.
I've seen stuff given out by Drink Aware. I mean, there's a good message behind it. Yes, it is backed by the big drink organisations, but they're trying to stop people drinking to excess, and they're trying to create a positive
how you can drink safely, of course.
Absolutely, which is a good thing.
If they're going to pay for it and no one else is willing to pay for it and do anything, you're going to take all the help you can get.
Well, it's interesting to see what's actually in those courses. I mean, what are children actually being taught? You know, like, as you grow up through life, you're obviously going to come into contact with alcohol, and like, maybe there's no harm that you know how to do it safely, how you can be responsible when you drink, how you can avoid it altogether, how you can learn to say no, for example. So I suppose it's interesting to see what would actually be in those courses and what are children actually being taught.
The last thing the drinks industry want is to go the way of smoke. Smoking will be gone. Like, it'll be banned in a few years' time. They obviously want people to drink
vaping, of course, is very popular amongst young people also. So.
It is. I'm just wondering, you know, as a parent or someone, or if you're a teacher, you know, what do you make of this? Are you willing to take any help that you can possibly get in trying to help kids to do something responsibly?
If you've been a part of one of these courses or have been at something similar, we'd love to know, like, what was the message you were getting out there? 0896 111
Love to hear from you.
We would love to hear from you. Now, let's move on to the Brazilian election, because I saw a clip of this from the weekend. There's 12,000 Brazilians living here in Ireland. They're all queuing up in Dublin to vote for the elections going on at home.
So it is compulsory to vote in Brazil if there's elections going on, and we're going to see Lula da Silva and Jose Bolsonaro, who of course is the incumbent president, go head to head in the elections. I think there was a narrow gap of about 42 to 48%. Now, interestingly, Lula da Silva could not run in the last elections because he was in prison for, I believe it's corruption. Yeah. So now we're seeing
You're not a politician in Brazil if you don't get to do something like that.
So
hold
on. So the current president is what, Jair Bolsonaro?
Bolsonaro, yeah.
And who's this new person then?
Jair Bolsonaro and Lula da Silva. Lula has been the president before, but he went into prison for corruption charges. Which the previous president before Bolsonaro, she is also in prison on corruption charges.
So who are the people in Dublin voting for? do they think?
Lula.
Well, it's interesting because I think Lula da Silva is kind of more the preferred choice of climate change campaigners and climate activists. They seem to take a shine on him. Bolsonaro is kind of hoping to appeal to people that are more, perhaps maybe more right-wing. He's saying he's campaigning on things like agriculture, for example. But of course, you know, the biggest issues currently facing, I suppose, a lot of countries, like, you know, food poverty and high food prices, they're also an issue in Brazil. So I suppose voters are worried about that also.
He's a Trumpian candidate. He said something, she's not worth sexually assaulting to one candidate before. So he is quite a character.
As is Bolsonaro, of course,
So
too.
as is Lula, both sound like two characters.
Bolsonaro. I watched last night as the results came in Dublin as to what they overwhelmingly in Ireland voted for Lula. So the results are already in.
The corrupt one.
Oh, wow.
The former.
I wouldn't. He was in jail for corruption
Formerly
charges.
not corrupt anymore.
In jail for corruption charges. Let's not get into Bolsonaro. Finally, can we end with a story? It is rocking
Best story
the
ever.
world of fishing, of professional
story ever.
fishing.
Breaking news.
Debbie, what is it?
Okay, so there's a fishing tournament that took place in Ohio, in America, and there was 2 men that won that fishing tournament.
Yes.
However, in a gotubban, as they say in all the Irish essays, in a sudden twist of events, a man whose name suits his job, Jason Fisher, who oversees the fishing competition and also works as a policeman part-time.
Right.
He ended up gutting some of the fish, and they're stuffed with, shock horror, lead weights. Or other fillets of fish.
And the competition obviously is for the heaviest fish.
Yes, of course. So the heaviest fish, the biggest catch, and so on.
So how did they get the lead weights in?
I don't know. I mean, it
it
remains a mystery. Of course.
This is going to be there'll be a Netflix special on this at some stage.
Can I just say that scandal has made a big splash in the fishing world. That's it. I don't know.
She's here. She's going to be here all week with that.
I got caught up in that.
But they actually have won loads of competitions as well. And
Yes,
then they're going to be going.
They're all low now.
Can I say, forget Deflategate with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
This is the real sports
This is
story
really
we
opening
need to
up.
be looking at. Gabia, thank you so much for joining us today. Gabia Gasqueta from the Irish Independent.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, just a little reminder that our next topic is not suitable for younger viewers and viewer discretion is advised.
Now, a new survey has revealed that Ireland is the 3rd most interested country in the dark web. Joining us to discuss this largely unknown area of the internet is CEO of Cyber Risk International, Paul C. Dwyer. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. So this is what we're behind Croatia and the Czech Republic and countries that search for the dark web. So there's been so far 40,000 searches almost this year for people trying to find the dark web. What is the dark web?
Well, the dark web is essentially a part of what we call the deep web. So if you think of it in terms of like an iceberg, above the surface line of the water is the internet that we all know, the surface web that we find through Google. Underneath that is what we call the deep web. That's everything that you can't access that's through a password or login. Even Netflix is on the deep web. But part of that is the dark web, and this is this hidden part of the web that's used by criminals because they can act anonymously, mainly criminals, that they can act anonymously because they use a special piece of software called Tor.
So you need this. So what's the difference between the deep web and the dark web, and how can... So if I'm on my phone or my computer today, will I be able to get onto the dark web?
You wouldn't be able to stumble upon it, Alan. What you'd have to do is load up a special piece of software. This software is called Tor, T-O-R, the onion router. It was actually put together by the United States Navy because they wanted to hide on the internet when they were surveilling, spying, performing analysis. And then they decided, well, if everybody sees us using this, they'll still know it's the United States Navy, so let's give it out to the world for free. And it's like an invisibility cloak. When you load up this piece of software, you're anonymous on the web. People
So I
cannot see
could
your
upload it and then go on to it?
5 minutes work.
Yeah, and by the way, we're not giving out anything for free.
No.
Like, this is
This
well-known
is
information.
well-known public information.
But it's also what happens in life with unforeseen consequences of something that's meant to be for good, I suppose you'd say, and this is what it turns into, because very quickly people learn that they could really have a nefarious lifestyle going on the dark web, didn't they?
Yeah, and there is good sides to this. I mean, journalists, anybody who is being needs to remain anonymous will be on the dark web as well because they can exchange information without fear of, being persecuted in any way. So it was used during the Arab Spring. It would have been used in different ways, positive ways as well. The BBC has a website there. The CIA have a website there. There's lots of good parts as well. But by and large, It's a nefarious part of town, if you like. And a lot of criminals, 80% of the traffic there would be child predators. You'd have people selling drugs, selling firearms, ordering anything you want, really, you can handle through these marketplaces. And these marketplaces are quite sophisticated. They have beautiful user front ends. They have ratings of the different vendors selling things. And you can sell and rent the tools to perpetrate cybercrime. You don't need to be a criminal expert.
And can you be caught on it? Like, if somebody's looking at this and seeing all these people selling arms, can they not be caught?
Well, it's really interesting because the caught piece is generally you become a mark on the dark web. You become a victim. So you may come on to want to order something, carry something out that's nefarious, but you'll end up being the victim because it's that nasty part of town. You'll go in and you may become the victim of criminality. Will law enforcement catch you? Well, it's not illegal to be on the dark web.
If you're selling arms or you're doing some vile stuff on it,
it's very, very low chance of being what we call attribution, being caught and brought. There are some cases where people are caught and some things are taken down. But generally, if they get international focus, international media, if it's terrorism, counterterrorism type of activity or something high-end around geopolitics or whatever it happens to be.
Well, there's an interesting podcast, and I know it might be for an awful lot of people. It's called Hunting Warhead, because the dark web is used, and this is why it is viewer discretion, for an awful lot of abuse, for human trafficking, for snuff films, for child abuse. It's disgusting. It's horrific, the amount. And there are international agencies that work together, one based out of Brisbane in Australia, to catch these criminals who end up being like, 25-year-old guys working out of their mom's basements in perpetrating what they're doing. There's a grey area because what these detectives had to do was they had to operate within the
parameters, yeah.
Essentially, they had to go undercover and kind of upload things so as that they were seen as part of this criminal aspect. So it's psychologically it's damaging, but there is a grey area for law enforcement.
It's psychologically challenging. Most law enforcement around the world, including here in Ireland, are under-resourced in this area.
Yeah.
There's very few crimes don't have a digital footprint, so it tends to be any resource that are there go for those traditional crimes such as murder or whatever it happens to be, those kind of high-end crimes which have a digital footprint as well. So it's very challenging for law enforcement to deal with. Some of the cases you talk about there, for example, I teach with the International Cyber Risk Academy, and we use a case study of a guy called Peter Scully, who in Australia started off into fraud and cybercrime in those areas, but ended up being at the total dark end where he was into child trafficking, he was getting children to bury other children, to sexually abuse children live on camera, and selling online pay-per-view tickets for $10,000 a ticket. And you talk about people becoming a victim of this. There's murder for hire websites where most of the people who are being arrested are those that tried to hire a murderer to kill somebody, not the people who are actually carrying out this stuff as well. So there's lots of various crazy components of this.
Is there anything good on it? I suppose if you can't get into it naturally, there's no... why are you going there? But is there good on it?
But as you mentioned, whistleblowers.
Yeah, there's whistleblowers. I mean, for example, Mick Wallace was setting up a site called NAMA Leaks where he wanted people to send him whistleblower information about NAMA to him, and he had all the instructions on how to go on the dark web and send him the information, all that kind of stuff. Anybody who needs to remain anonymous for the fear of their life, it's obviously a very good tool to be able to do that. But it is a nefarious part of town. But then it brings up some social challenges. If people are getting in, younger children, younger adults want to experiment with drugs, should they go to the physical bad part of town, maybe get bad drugs, or do they go to a community of people? No, we're not advocating drugs, but what we're saying is that this is how society is evolving, where they can get drugs in a quote-unquote safer way online through a site like this where you can get fair trade cocaine, you can get all these kind of things. So if that's your essence, Silk Road, which one of the administrators of it was based in Ireland, turned 1 billion in its first year and mainly was replacing drug barons in the physical world. And they were doing it in the Silk Road. 1 billion in the first world.
That was shut down in 2013, but that was one of the biggest.
It was one of the biggest, but then it's like whack-a-mole where they just pop up again. Another one pops up, another one pops up.
So law enforcement agencies around the world, obviously this is globalised trade and criminality. Do they have enough resources to tackle this?
They don't have enough resources, but there's been some amazing work done by the likes of our new Assistant Garda Commissioner, Paul Cleary, who is head of the Cybercrime Bureau here as well, working with Europol. It's all about cooperation. It's all about collaboration and working with law enforcement, because this is a multi-jurisdictional challenge. If you're dealing with this, you need to be able to deal with the geopolitics of it, the diplomacy of it. One of the biggest threat actors in the world today is a guy called Vladimir Putin. He controls a group called Conti Ransomware Group, who brought down our own health service. This is fact. Absolute fact. He controls the GRU, who controlled the unit who carried out that in the Country Ransomware Group. There's 63 people working for them and turned $160 million last year. Fact.
Yeah.
These are criminals.
Yeah. And
but the good news is, if there's good news out of this, that we cannot, and if you're watching at home, your son, your daughter, yourself, you can't just stumble on it. No. You need the tools to go down to get it.
You need to load up that particular browser, those tools, absolutely. And out of curiosity is probably why these things are coming up as well. A lot of people value the privacy as well.
Yeah. Like, I've Googled it.
Yeah. And have you gone on and got into it?
Absolutely not. Yeah. No, I've Googled it, though, because I wanted to find out more about it.
You've Googled it, but you haven't downloaded and gone into it.
No. I'm too lazy. I wouldn't know how to do
that. There's another part of this as well, where people say to themselves, they know when they're using a service online and they're free that they are the product. So whether you're using Instagram, Facebook, whatever it happens to be. So they want their privacy. So they will go on and they'll use a search engine like DuckDuckGo instead of Google, where none of their information is being taken, none of their identity is being taken and passed on to a third party.
Clear your history, lads. It's fine. Don't worry about it. As CEO of Cyber Risk International, Tulsi Dwyer, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's cheery, isn't it? We're going to change pace now. Coming up, could Eric Ten Hag pay the price for United's hammering by City this weekend? 6-3, lads. We'll be discussing after the break. Welcome back. Now, before we chat about yesterday's Manchester Derby, because Gavin Cooney, who's meant to be on sports with us, he's just had to call in sick. God bless him.
Have we got Al to discuss
it is quite the morning. Al, Manchester
Man
Derby.
City. Oh, I tell you, they did great. What did they 6-3?
Hey, fair play.
Oh my God, well done.
I was watching it.
Why are we so surprised that you were able to tell us that?
And who scored the goals?
I have no idea.
So before we get to that, I think we should discuss some of the things we discussed earlier in making the news as well, particularly about this Drink Aware.
Yes.
So Drink Aware is funded by the likes of Diageo, Heineken, and the other drinks companies, and they're now putting courses on to go into schools and teach kids.
I remember them coming into my school when we were in transition year.
So it's not the teacher, so it's somebody from there is coming
Drinks
in.
Aware.
They came in to tell us what a unit measurement was, and they gave us, like, this is what a unit, and they showed us what it was and the glasses and everything. I remember that in transition
And it's
year.
to stop people with excessive drinking. Now, I'm sure they're not trying to teach them all to be pioneers, but at the same time, they're teaching about the dangers of it.
That's worked really well in Ireland.
Well, listen, Ursula just said, this is ridiculous. Sure, they are hardly going to be encouraged to teach teenagers to be pioneers, so how can they give a well-rounded view on drinking? And I don't think...
I think giving information on drinking. Because, like, you know that, Tommy, when we say units.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like some people really don't know what a unit is and things like that, you know?
Drink Aware as well. Like, they need the funding for somewhere. You know, I guess it looks bad that maybe the drinks companies are funding them, but this is kind of the charitable arm, you would think, for those drinks companies to try and actually put good messages. Because the drinks company, as you mentioned earlier, don't want to be turned like smoking, which is going to be completely banned.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the stories that come out at the weekend when, you know, during COVID, the A&Es weren't packed with people who'd broken anything or fallen over drunk, and then next thing we're back out in the world, and that's how they don't want that happening to have the Listen, it is weird. It does seem like Turkey's telling you how to cook Christmas dinner. I was just watching your show, and I believe that alcohol awareness should be taught in schools, but not from third year up. It should be in junior schools as well. I'm a recovering alcoholic and also a psychotherapist. I see too many lives destroyed through alcohol. It's the families and children's lives that are impacted the most. We are drinking. Yeah. Should we be teaching people how to...
And even Oscar said, to be honest, isn't any teaching on drinking alcohol responsibly better than nothing?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Here, tell me this now. Let's talk about the football, Al. So, Man City, of course, different level from Man United last night.
In the Etihad Stadium.
If you were... So, Eric Ten Hag is the head coach.
See that? I knew where it was. See that?
He's the head coach for Man United, right? You have probably the best player in the world, or one of the best players in the world, in Cristiano Ronaldo last year, who scored 24 goals for Man United last year.
Yep.
The closest to that was 10, right? But then they just kept him on the bench. They brought on 5 substitutes and didn't bother bringing on Ronaldo.
And why not?
But, well, he said it was out of respect for Cristiano Ronaldo. But how frustrated would you be if you were Ronaldo? You know he can go on and make a difference, and your coach, your manager, isn't even bringing you on.
Why is respect to keep him on the bench? Seriously.
Because Ten Hag said by the time that they would have brought him on, it was already 4-0. The damage was done.
The damage was done.
So,
he couldn't bring them back from the edge.
out of respect, he didn't want to bring him on. But I mean, at least like they ended up scoring 3 goals. So Ronaldo could have
got
had an
another
impact.
2 maybe.
But I just think if you're the best player in the world, or formerly one of the best players
Why
in the
is
world,
he on the bench in the first place?
because he's getting on in age, and Ten Hag is trying to bring through this young crop.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of feel sorry for him. I mean, to think that he scored 14 more goals than any other Man
There's
United
no
player
one
last
here,
year.
and you're still. They're trying to wrap us up, and you're still going on about.
There
You're
we
just having
go.
to think. Do you know what? Pep Guardiola's tracksuit on the side of the pitch was absolutely gorgeous. I'll tell you that much.
Haaland is a different level as
there we
well.
go.
Send
But
us
anyway.
in your messages in relation to drinkware or anything else. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you.
And we're going to brighten up the next hour because coming up, Graham Norton chats to us about his new novel and about hosting next year's Eurovision Song Contest. We'll see in a few minutes.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. Do you know what? The lighting in the other studio is just getting too much with the energy bills. We've moved into a smaller studio
new
for the
look.
day. Yeah, new look. Ireland AM.
Now, presenter, author, and all-round legend Graham Norton is going to be chatting to Muirnan Allen. Cut on that one. About his brand new novel and presenting, I can't believe this, the 30th series of his chat show.
Yeah. See, I suppose he does like 2 a year sometimes. You know, that's sort of a way, a series. It's not just a
Unbelievable.
year.
Like, there's nobody he hasn't interviewed, is there? Like, I mean,
Absolutely
top
not.
legends, yeah.
And also, he
Cool.
was in like an Alexander McQueen suit. Alan was in like a suit as well, and I showed up in a pair of jeans. I was like, thanks, lads, thanks for the memo. Anyway, also this morning, another author of note will be joining us. Liadan Hynes is going to be here to discuss her brand new book. It delves into the dating scene of rural Ireland, and it is absolutely fascinating. She went around interviewing people for 2 years about this.
I'm looking forward to hearing this. I'd love to hear from people at home as well. What is the dating scene like in rural Ireland? I mean, I was out in Monaghan a few weekends ago, and seems to be seems to be going okay.
Is it,
up
yeah?
there, yeah, absolutely. 0896 111 111. Now the dream team are outside in our new makeshift kitchen. It's over to the baker and the baker.
Yes,
Who's who?
our make yes.
Which is which?
Edward Hayden's going to make scones without an oven. This is how talented this man is. Come here. Is it scones or scones?
Well, I would say scones, but I
Right.
think it's kind of maybe the more UK thing to say scones.
Okay.
But we would have always said
But you
scones.
are going to make
So
a delicious scones this
I am
morning.
going to make some delicious scones. I've got all of the condiments to go with them. I've got some lovely butter, I've got some jam, I've got some cream. I'm going to make really, really delicious scones as part of the big pink breakfast for the Irish Council
Great
Society.
stuff. And tell us, how are you going to do it without the oven?
The will of God. I'm a great believer in the will of God, Alan.
And of course, you're going to be answering some questions as well, some cooking questions. So if you have any questions for Deric or for Edward, do get them in to us. But now it's over to Deric, who has a hard task. He's meeting some lovely little furry animals this morning.
I am indeed. Well, come here. First up, in terms of weather, it's a dry settle start, but plenty of rain through parts of the west, up around the northwest. But as you mentioned, now we're down here at the DSPCA, the brand new Cattery. There's Colm there. Good morning, Colm. How are you? Pop in here. Oh, look at this. Oh, lads, look at this. Suzanne, who have we got here?
This older gentleman is Harry. He's 13 years of age.
Okay, we're going to be finding out about Harry, and who have we got here?
Oh, I've got feisty Ginger, and he's about 12 weeks old.
Oh, come here, lads. I'm going to come out of here with about 10 cats. You know, I'm a proper cat lady. Oh, gorgeous. Oh.
Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, extensive security planned for Regency Hotel trial. A large security operation is expected to take place around the criminal courts of justice today in advance of trial proceedings surrounding the 2016 Regency Hotel shooting.
Energy crisis adds €60,000 to price of best insulated homes. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The energy crisis has started to affect house prices, with home buyers now willing to pay up to €60,000 more for energy-efficient homes rated B or higher.
The Examiner leads with alcohol sector providing school training. Secondary school teachers are being offered training in how to lead classroom lessons about alcohol by Drinkaware, an organisation that is funded by the alcohol industry, distilleries and breweries.
First-time buyers to get block levy relief is the top story on the Daily Mail. The Taoiseach has indicated that first-time buyers could avoid a new levy on concrete blocks introduced to pay for the cost of mica redress.
The Mirror goes with Hutch and Go. Senior members of the Hutch gang are set to flee Ireland over fears they will be nailed for the Regency Hotel murder of mobster David Byrne.
The Star leads with that same story. Their headline, Trial and Terror.
The Sun's front page, Monk gets hearing aids for his trial. Murder-accused Jerry Hutch will be provided with hearing aids as he goes on trial today for the 2016 killing of David Byrne at Dublin's Regency Hotel. Now, coming up after the break, he was home for a whistle-stop weekend. We'll be chatting to Graham Norton.
Oh, look at you guys, besties.
I got him to sign a book for me, Mum. He's lovely. Welcome back to Ireland Day, and we're back in our home.
Yes, we're back in our studio.
The studio.
In case you've just joined us for the last hour and a bit.
We've been somewhere else.
An hour. We've been somewhere else.
We're in the group chat studio. But now, whether he's interviewing an Oscar-winning actor, flipping a red chair, or working on his latest novel, our next guest does love a good story.
He certainly does. And we caught up with the king of the chat show, Graham Norton, to talk everything from writing to his wedding. Graham, thank you so much for chatting to us today. I'm holding the book, your fourth novel, Forever Home. So for all those people who are going to run out and buy this now, tell us about it.
So this is, it's very similar to the other books. It's a family drama set in West Cork. This one begins with a divorced woman. She's in her late 40s, Carol, and she finds love for the second time with this older man who he's single. His wife left him many years ago. And of course, in those sorts of relationships, you think older people are very stable when they're together. But lots of people who are older have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And if something goes wrong and Declan gets ill, there's no stability. So she gets ousted from her house by his adult kids. And then her parents, Moira and Dave, who I love, they decide to fight for justice. And in doing so, stir up a whole mess of trouble. And, plot thickens, drama ensues.
As
the end.
Always in one of your novels, which we need to talk about in a second, but you just mentioned Moira and Dave. Can we talk about Moira, the mother in this character? She's already a legend and she's been out in the world just a few days. Like, we know that you've got a great relationship with your mother, Rhoda. Is she based on her in any way?
Well, look, all I'll say is I haven't let my mother read this one yet.
Oh, because she's going to be like, I said that.
Because we're like, this sounds familiar. So no, there's turns of phrase and things that my mother would use, but it's not my mother. Like my mother mightn't recognise herself because it's not really her. But there are things she says, and my mother is very funny, and Moira I think is very funny.
I recognise her as my mother. I think she's kind of everyone's mother.
I think she is an Irish mother that a lot of people will recognise, particularly an Irish mother over a certain age, I think.
She's 20 steps ahead of everyone. Everyone else is stupid. Just catch up and go on. Yeah? That's Moira.
And it's very kind of, I meant no offence.
Did you love writing it?
Yes, just saying. Just saying.
Did you love writing it?
I did. I really did. I mean, what's nice about these books is, I love West Cork, but yes. I only get to spend a couple of months there every year. So doing these books means I'm there in my head kind of for months at a time, and I love it.
Can I ask you just one thing? Like, you're an amazing television presenter, you do your radio show. How did you know you could do this?
I didn't know. It's like anything new that you try.
Yeah.
And so the chance of being humiliated were quite high. But I like to go into things with a worst case scenario. You kind of, okay, what's the worst that could happen? And then how would I cope with that? And the worst that would happen is everyone said, this is awful. My friends would be delighted. And then I would go back to my day job. I would be on telly. And most people who sit in the audience of my television show, they don't know I write novels. They don't read books. So
I think a lot of the people who sit in the audience
just insulted your whole audience.
They're not watching this, so I'm good. Like a lot of people don't read books. A lot, Great. It's great that actually I think in Ireland books are much stronger and healthier, and books are far more part of the mainstream conversation. I think books in Britain are quite niche.
it's definitely across the divide. You know, like a Maeve Binchy or a Marion Keyes that just hits everyone in a different way.
Yeah.
And you can do that. Every single person thinks they see their town and village in your books. And I'm worried what's happening in town because there's always death, there's always murder, there's always a kidnapping.
But there always is. Like, there is.
There
I
is.
mean, like, it seems crazy, you know. It seems like, you know, Midsummer, where, you know,
Yes.
like, really.
Yes.
Don't ever live there.
No. I mean, the life insurance in Midsummer must be through the roof. But there is that thing. I find it with my mother, if I'm going on a journey with my mother, you know, she'll have a story attached to every house. And it won't be just like, oh, they've repainted that house. It'll be some awful, terrible thing that has befallen them. And it seems to be every house.
And you mentioned your mum there, and it was so fun because I'm wondering if you get the phone call when you're at home in London working and you get barely an hello, but do you hear who died? Because the most popular website in Ireland, rip.ie, gets a mention in the book.
Yes, it does.
I mean, you open up your mother's iPad, it's rip.ie, the landing page.
She loves it. But, you know, when you're over 90, it's a way to keep in touch. So it's just, you know, it's...
And speaking of towns and villages, Holding, which we're showing on Virgin Media, the last episode is on tonight, and I've been glued to it. When they came to you and they said, we want to adapt this for television, how did you feel? And did you want to get involved? Because you didn't adapt it.
No, I didn't. And to be honest with you, I think every book published probably gets the rights get bought by somebody, just in case somebody wants to make it. So it was my friend Dominic Treadwell Collins, and he bought Holding years ago when it came out. Yeah. And he kept plugging away, and I thought, well, that's never going to happen. But no, he kept going. And finally, he got it made. And I'm so happy for him. And the thing that I'm really thrilled about is that he has a house in Skibbereen. So he knows that part of the world. Yeah. And he went the extra mile because filming it all in West Cork, much more expensive because you've got to bring everything down there. You know, they don't have the facilities or anything down there. So I don't know what it did to the budget, but it made it much bigger. But I think really worth it because the streets that they're filming it on are the ones that I was writing about. That coastline is the coast I was talking about. And it's West Cork's kind of the star of it.
But speaking of the stars, had you any say in casting, or were you happy with the casting?
I was delighted with the casting. I mean, because they're actors, they're all much better looking than the characters were in my head. But, you know, to have Brenda Fricker in this was just amazing. And it seems to have sort of woken her up in a way. Like, she's working more now again. Yes. I think she thought she was kind of done. And I think she'd never tell you she enjoyed it, but I think she did.
Because all we had was her on the radio when she couldn't get her Netflix working last year and she rang Ray Darcy. And there's a whole show of Brenda because she can't get her Netflix working and she's like, I'll ring Ray Darcy. And now, you're right, like she won't, were you chatting to her? Were you did you like it? And she was like, yeah, whatever.
I had lunch with her, she came to the house and then the rest of the cast were like, oh, you invited Brenda Fricker to your house. All it was, I'll say this on the record now, all it was, they were all bubbled in Skibbereen, but because she had the dog, she was over in Bantry all by herself. Right. So I thought, we have a dog, so I thought, we could have a doggy play date, and so we'll get Brenda over. But then it became a big thing that Graham had shown terrible favoritism.
Graham had a favourite child on Holding. I think we all know that. I suppose we have to talk, like West Cork, obviously you're there all the time and everyone's like, sure, there's Graham. It's grand, all good. And they're all like, we're drinking the wine, thanks a million, Graham. But, you know, you managed to get a massive tent down there. Congratulations on the wedding.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was like, I didn't know what it was going to be like because, we kept it very quiet and even the guests didn't know that they were coming to... I mean, they'd have to be really stupid not to know they weren't coming to a wedding. But they didn't. But, word got out around the place in Bantry and Aghista. But what was great was they kind of gossiped amongst themselves. But then when a couple of reporters arrived, they kept very stum about the whole thing. But the rumours were right. Elton John was seen in the Tin Pub next to my house. The word of Lady Gaga. My favourite one was, in Super Value, someone saw Adele without makeup. Which is essentially anyone in Super Value.
But Lulu definitely was there.
Oh no, Lulu was there.
She put it up on Instagram.
Yeah, she didn't get the old "it's a secret" message.
Were you happy and proud that you could do it? Because, like me growing up as a gay man in Ireland, for me, getting married was never even going to come into the equation.
I know.
So we've come so far in that respect.
We have. I mean, I suppose what's interesting is, you know, when we were growing up, the idea of getting married or having kids, they weren't even on they weren't on the table. They were just over there.
Yeah.
So I sort of feel sorry for the young gays because they've got to think about it all. They've got options, whereas it was quite nice not having any options. But it was lovely to be there, and you know, my mother was there, and John's parents were there, and for them to share in that, to share in that kind of family, you know, the proper tradition is because you get married for yourselves, but you also get married for your friends and your family.
Yes.
They want to be a part of it. And it was sort of lovely to look around and see all these people in this one place, you know, celebrating us.
You staring at you.
Our special day.
Did you get emotional? Was it tear shed?
I did get a bit emotional.
I love it.
Yeah, I did. John, not at all. But I did get a bit emotional.
Were the dogs dressed up?
He was not dressed up. He just happened to be wearing a bow tie.
You did it! You went the whole hog. You went the whole hog.
And everybody in the country, I think, was just so pleased.
Oh, that's very
And I think everybody. And I mean, and this weekend we saw the return of the Graham Norton show, 30th series.
Well, that's on BBC One, I think. I've been doing chat shows since like
but from the Graham Norton's 30th.
Yeah.
So you were back on at the weekend, and stellar lineup once again.
It was a great lineup, and also, you know, it's that thing. Everything old is new again. The sofa was back. We had the audience sitting around the stage, and you know, you know that's going to happen. But it's only when you walk out and you go, oh yeah. Oh, it is so much better like this. There's a reason why it was like this, because it's just lovely to have an audience and, you know, to be able to look them in the eye and, you know, chat to them in between bits and stuff. It was just great. But also, it was funny because it has been sort of 2.5 years. You sort of think, did the sofa make that much of a difference? You know, how different was it? Sitting in chairs talking, sitting on a sofa talking. How different is it? So different. I mean, the kind of the way the guests bond on the sofa is just different.
Yeah, because there's no barrier. It does make a difference. And I sometimes think about the Graham Norton show, because it's one of the biggest shows in the world. Everyone wants to go to it. You get people flying in especially for it. That it must be like the UN or like Brooklyn Beckham's wedding, to be like, who can sit next to who, what dates can we have, because they hate each other and they hate each other and ne'er the twain shall meet.
Less of that, I'd say. Less of that, because if they're selling a film or something, they'll suck it up.
Sit where you're told.
Yeah, they won't chat so much. But it's more to do with, you try to second guess what the chemistry will be like. And what's nice is, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes it's better than you think it's going to be, sometimes people don't gel.
Yeah.
And you hope you learn from it. I mean, that's the thing. After every show, we'll talk about the bits that worked, the bits that didn't work. Oh, we mustn't do that again. And it must be annoying for the new people on the team, because I've worked with the producer since I think about 1999. And so if they come up with any idea, we'll go, yeah, we did that as well. Yeah, tried that. No, yeah, we've done that several times. So it must be, they must hate us.
The poor thing.
I know.
I'm just thinking, I'm going to impress him today.
And we can't have you here. Well, I can't have you here anyway. Muireann, not so impressed. Eurovision.
Muireann.
I'm so sorry. I wish I had the gene. I just don't have it. I don't have it. I'm so sorry. Rock and roll kid to the
Eurovision. We're down to Liverpool or Glasgow.
Yeah. You're not drawing me into that. They're both very photogenic. They both have great venues.
Oh my God, you went straight politician.
Well done. No. Tell me about it. Like, I am not going near that.
But you do love the camp and the whole madness of it.
I do. And also, it's camp and mad, but also there's something kind of sincere about it. It's real. You know, that moment when Ukraine got that big popular vote.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if they hadn't.
Yeah.
Imagine everyone in Ukraine watching, and then if Europe had just gone, actually, we don't care. We don't care. And Italy's won. You know, and it was just great that Europe spoke about, actually, we are with you.
Yeah.
And it you know, yes, you're right. It is a camp, silly singing competition. But in moments like that, it's kind of profound. It makes me...
And I know because you did tear up as well when Conchita won that year.
I did. Because again, that was another thing where we all wanted Conchita to win, but we thought, oh, lots of countries won't vote for a bearded drag queen. And then you realise, of course, that countries are people. Countries aren't their governments. And actually, people watching an entertainment show responded to that moment because she sold that song so well. It was so dramatic. It was so fabulous. So, yeah, it's one of those
So
moments.
we will be seeing you in either Liverpool or Glasgow, and you'll be happy wherever you are.
Exactly so, yes. You can quote me on
There we go.
that.
That was very beautiful. Countries aren't their governments, by the way, and we can also tell that you weren't listening to Marty Whelan for any of the Eurovision. You're listening to Graham.
I listened to...
That is, you're not. I'm sorry, Marty. I would like to apologise profusely.
No, you're not watching it all. You're not watching. At least he's watching it somewhere.
I listened to Marty for the semi-finals because Graham doesn't do the semi-finals.
Good save. Good save.
Marty's in tomorrow now. I'm just going to be telling him what's going on. We're so sorry, Marty Whelan. I'm
Sorry,
so
Marty.
sorry.
Yes, I do listen to you for the semi-finals. But
he was in some form, wasn't he?
Oh,
and he missed
always...
flights and like all sorts. Fair play to him.
It was a nightmare. He was supposed to be in here. He was supposed to be doing lots of stuff. He missed
Yeah.
flights. Flights were cancelled, and he was still on top form. And as always, he's just brilliant.
And in no rush. Do you know, he seemed to. You could have talked for another hour. I'd say.
Not written for half. He was absolutely lovely. He's what you see, and the book Forever Home it's fabulous. So you're really going to enjoy it if you're Graham
And the
Norton
last
friend.
holding tonight at 9 o'clock. I can't wait for it.
Gagging
Gagging
for it.
for it.
Inspired by nature, powered by light. Becco Harvest Fresh sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Now, I hope you have the kettle boiled
Yes.
because this is the perfect time to have a nice cup of tea to scoff some scones with raspberry jam.
Now, see, he said scones. I say scones. What do you say? To make sure there's no soggy bottoms here, Edward Hayden is on hand. Good morning to you, Edward.
Good morning.
You weren't expecting that one.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're thinking of a sponge or a lemon tart, perhaps.
You'd
But
never get a
anyway.
soggy bottom in a perfect scone.
Never.
No. Okay. So, scones, scones.
Whatever you want
Joe,
to call
actually,
them.
we've got a few questions in before we get to the cookery
Okay.
because, of course, the old cooker and all wasn't working earlier, so we asked people to send in their questions. What about this one? No matter what I do, my scones always turn out flat. I always follow the recipe perfectly and have the correct oven temperature, correct ingredients. What might I be doing wrong?
I love the way that they're kind of giving you all cutting out all of the excuses. What I would suggest is that perhaps the mixture is either too wet, which is causing the scones to kind of spread rather than rise. But what I think is one of the common things when people are rolling them out, they can often roll them out too thin, expecting them to kind of rise
Go up another
robustly.
2 inches
You know,
or whatever,
they're not going to rise too much. So you need to have a kind of a nice scone of good depth going into the oven to get it out looking well as well.
Okay, well, you carry on
I'll
then.
start off, yeah. So I'm doing this morning just to kind of promote the Irish Cancer Society's great big pink breakfast that they're doing. So this is for the month of October, which is, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And the invitation for people in either the workplace or the office or in your community is to kind of invite people around for breakfast, make up some lovely things and help with the fundraising.
Everybody loves an old scone to come
Everyone
round
loves
to.
an old scone. So I was thinking, what could you have if you were inviting people around in the morning? So scones. So what I've got here is I've got a pound of self-raising flour, 450 grams. To that, I'm adding in some sugar. It's about 3 ounces of sugar, 3 or 4 ounces of sugar. And the same with butter, which I've just cut into cubes.
Do you know what? This is another question, actually, now that you're doing the butter.
Okay.
So, and we have another question saying, just wondering, if you don't have enough butter in it, can you substitute it with oil?
No, you couldn't really substitute it with oil. So what I would say is if they don't have enough butter for the full recipe, maybe make half a recipe, half a little batch of scones.
Okay.
And you'll end up with a nicer...
couldn't really pour oil
No,
into
you
that,
couldn't
could you?
put oil into it at all. You do need the butter, and you can see what I'm doing here with the butter and the sugar and the flour is I'm just rubbing those together nice and gently. Okay, I had the butter just out of the fridge a few minutes before we started, just to get it in there
course,
nice and
like
quickly.
room temperature,
Room
yeah.
temperature-ish. Some people might like to kind of blitz it in the food processor, but I would never add the liquids to the food processor because you'll get a very tough dough, which is not
when
what
you get
you want.
little bits of butter that just, you know, a little lump in it. Adds a bit of extra flavour.
In the mixture at this stage. And I wouldn't get too excited about that because it will kind of render down in the oven. It will melt into it. Obviously, you don't want big, massive chunks of it. But, you know, people say keep going till it gets like fine breadcrumbs. But, I mean, if you were to go till morning, it would never look like breadcrumbs. Do you know, that sort of way. But just kind of get most of them all out of it. And then we're going to add in the liquids. Now, again, of course, at this stage, you might decide to put in some sultanas soaked in orange juice. You might decide to put in some chunks of chocolate.
So yours are plain, are they?
I'm just doing plain scones.
Yeah, I do like a fruit scone. Do you like a plain or fruit?
I like a white chocolate raspberry.
Yeah, and that was my next thing I was going to say. I got some absolutely. We're not dealing with ordinary muck there, you know.
You're not wrong.
White chocolate and
the scones up and
raspberry scone.
Would your mother make you white chocolate and raspberries?
Oh, of course not. But if I'm going out to buy one, my mother would be looking.
What are you talking about? He was rare to pet.
Exactly. My mum brings it in, goes, this is homemade.
From somebody else's home.
Fresh from the oven. Now, I've got all those done. Into that, then I'm just going to add an egg. And I'm going to add in then some milk and some cream. So I've just got a combination of milk and cream and just bring it together. And this is the kind of the precarious bit because you can sometimes be bringing it together and you can just end up with a little bit too much milk in there. So just add it more sparingly at the start. And I normally do it with a spoon or a fork before I get in there with my hand. So you don't want to get in there with your hands too early because I don't want to toughen the mixture. But it's at this stage that you would add in some of the flavourings as well and just to bring all of that together. So it's really, really, really nice.
So is this where you'd add in your white chocolate and
the white chocolate and the raspberry? If you're putting in the raspberries, you can see I've brought some fresh raspberries there. What I would normally do is I would normally throw them into the freezer for just a minute or two. About 10 or 12 minutes, just to firm them up a little bit before you
just get mushed up then,
just to get the mix in. The egg has gone in there as well.
Right.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these ones out of the oven before I just start rolling them out. You might like to start on them.
I have another quick question here.
Perfect.
Can you make scones using an air fryer?
Now, I'm sure you can because it seems that you can make everything else at the minute using an air fryer.
Yeah.
But what I would say to you, Tommy, is in terms of the dimensions, I don't have one myself, but in terms of the dimensions of the air fryer, I'm not sure you'd get that many in.
It's
so,
just to do with TikTok. One of these TikTok videos shows using an air fryer.
And you see, again, I just think you wouldn't get in the dozen. So back here then, I'm just kind of being nice and giving you the bit in the middle. So what I'm going to do is, so hot from the oven. So you see what I'm doing there is I'm just taking that bit of dough and I want to show you this little bit at the end. You know the way there might be a tiny little bit of dryness? Just take that out and don't keep adding in all of the milk when that bit of dryness is in there. Add it in separately just because you won't need as much as you think you'll need.
Can I ask you another thing? When you're buttering, what do you do? Is it butter, jam, and then cream?
Oh, now the most controversial conversation.
Because you don't have both, do you?
I'm butter, jam, and cream. Yeah.
I'm
so butter first, then jam,
and then
cream. Yeah.
All three.
So butter, jam, and cream.
I just went cream and jam.
Oh no, butter, jam, and cream.
Butter, jam, and cream.
That's the way I do it as well.
And if you have your white chocolate and raspberry,
of course you have your filling in it. We're kindred
But if you're having
spirits.
plain ones, butter, jam, and cream, that's the way I go. The amount of people who would actually go, don't be so stupid, you can't put it that
that's
way.
the only way to do it. Now, can I just show you with this one first here, yeah? That's what I'm talking about in terms of the thickness. So flatten that out. I have that out in a little oblong, and I'm going to pop those onto the tray just like so. So again, I have my tray just lightly greased and pop those out, and they will rise up nicely.
Yeah, I see what you mean there by the thickness of it, because if they were much flatter, people are going to say, oh, they never rose. But
They never rose.
That's a good inch and a bit there, is it?
Well, you see, what you're making is you're making scones. You're not making biscuits, and that's the thing to remember.
Edward, love it.
What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to put a little bit of egg and milk on the top of that. So I've just got a mixture of
How long
egg
do
and
they go
milk.
in for, Edward?
They're going in for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
And my little secret that I do is just a small little bit of sugar on the top before they go into the oven, and that just gives you a nice crunchy topping.
I mean, perfect for Irish Cancer Society.
Irish Cancer Society, of course, it's such a great fundraiser. Think of the night nurse services, think of the counselling and all the other things.
How do people find out about it?
Cancer.ie, people can get all of the details for the big pink breakfast and also some gorgeous recipes as well if they don't want to make these scones.
That is gorgeous.
They're absolutely beautiful.
Aren't they lovely?
They are
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
Very welcome.
Now, up next, we're going to be finding out how Deric is getting on the DSPCA. We'll see in a few minutes. There.
Inspired by nature, powered by light. Becco Harvest Fresh sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
It's great to have you back with us. Deric is at the DSPCA this morning for the opening of their new Cattery.
I mean, it just sounds like heaven. Deric, how's it all going?
Oh, come here, lads. I'm in heaven this morning. You know I'm a big fan of cats. I have my own two little boys at home, Manny and Thor. They always watch Ireland AM when I'm away. Anyway, we're down here at the brand new Cattery. Suzanne for the DSPCA is with us. Suzanne, what a beautiful, fantastic facility.
Yes, good morning, Deric. So, yeah, this is our brand new Cattery here at the DSPCA. So we're absolutely thrilled with it. You might have remember the previous one, so we have now nearly twice the space, which means we can take in more cats, rescue more cats and find homes for the ones under our care.
Now, who have we got here?
This older gent is Harry. He's a senior cat. He's 13 years of age. He was found crying outside a shop local to us. He'd been missing for 2 years and he was registered to an owner, but unfortunately they were so upset they couldn't take him home for a number of reasons, so he's here now trying to find his new home.
He'd be great now in a nursing home, wouldn't he?
Do you know that is the perfect place for a cat like Harry, and we have a lot of older cats that would really suit like a resident pet in even care homes, nursing homes, places like that. He's super affectionate, so he'd be a lovely addition to the place.
Beautiful little kitty cat. Now, we're here in the cat nursery this morning.
We got the babies.
Oh, we got the babies. This is little Blackjack.
And Blackjack is just adorable. He's 11 weeks old. He's one of the many kittens that we have rescued here. As you can see behind me and over there in the Cattery, we are full of kittens. Our Cattery is opened from 12 until 4, so everybody's welcome. We rescue them from all sorts of situations. Our inspectors will bring in lots of stray cats that the members of the public will bring in and they come into us. We vaccinate them and help them and find them homes.
I know, looking for homes. And of course, foster homes as well. You're looking for foster families.
Yes, so foster families are critical to what we do here. So they would be short-term care for maybe lots of kittens or cats or older cats that might just need a little bit of respite. So it could be anything from 1 week to 3 weeks. And what that allows us to do is also free up space to take in more cats while they're with the foster homes.
Okay, they're absolutely gorgeous. So there you have it, lads. If you wish to donate, if you wish to volunteer, if you wish to become a foster mum or dad, log on to dspca.ie. That's where you'll find them. Back to you guys in the studio. Oh, beautiful.
Thank you so much. Deric is going to have adopted going to be fostering about 20 of them by the end of the
You
day.
said you'd like to foster.
I would love to if we were able to. Anyway, sorry, we've got to go, but I'd love to foster. If you can, please do get in touch. Lots more coming in the next hour. From dating in rural Ireland to wedding guest fashion.
Plus, we're going to be finding out if items in your attic might be worth a small fortune.
Oh, my big magazines from 1994. Yeah.
Ireland AM's back in a few minutes. We'll see you then.
Hello, welcome back to the final hour of Ireland AM.
Now, swiping right on rural Ireland. Looking forward to this. We're going to be chatting to Liadan Hynes, author of the new book, Curtain, which looks at some of the challenges facing dating in the Irish countryside.
You dropped all your G's there.
Curtain and shifting. Who are you shifting at the minute? Who are you courting? Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Plus, we're going to be helping you find, apparently we are, cash in your attic. Antique dealer Ian Dowling will be showing us how to find treasure amidst the rubbish. And Ian is with us now. Ian, it's lovely to have you here. Come here. Do people honestly find stuff at home, bring it in, and it's worth something?
Definitely. I think Irish people I think we're a nation of hoarders. I think everybody has something in their attic. If you have a bit of a rummage, you can find something of value.
I'm looking at the flask there. I surely have an old lunchbox.
My wife falls out at me over this. I'm like, it'll be worth money in the future. And she's just bin it, will you? But hold on to it, Ian. That's the tip.
100%, yeah.
Okay, stick it up in the attic.
Cheers.
Thanks for looking forward to that later on. Now, Alan, in the catwalk, how are we getting on?
Well, if you've been invited to an upcoming nuptial, we have dresses to impress. Lorna, what have we got this morning?
We have lots of wedding guest style this morning, Alan. So yeah, if you're heading to a wedding in the next couple of weeks, basically have you sorted. We're bringing lots of those key trends. Beautiful greens, we've got elegant sort of V-necks, we've got silk-like dresses, we've got maxis. Beautiful selection of clutches and shoes, and just a bit of everything. Lots of nice, kind of a mix of styles, we'll say. A nice mix of styles this morning, so yeah, lots to come.
Looking forward to that. That's coming up a little later on. Now, Deric, as you saw a little earlier, is at the DSPCA. How are you getting on, Deric?
Alan, would you look at the... Come here. I think I'm going to come out of here with a whole load of little cats and kittens. This little gorgeous fella here, look at him here, Al, absolutely beautiful. And of course, if anyone's looking to adopt or even foster a little kitten, it's DSPCA.ie. You can donate online as well, but they're absolutely beautiful. I mean, lads, get me out of here.
Welcome back. Now, earlier on, we were talking about secondary school teachers being offered training in how to lead classroom lessons about alcohol by DrinkAware, which is funded by the Drinks Lobby, and it's on the front page of the Indo today. As we were chatting about it, and this is a text from a teacher who says, I'm signed up for this training and I cannot wait. It is needed. It will cover the effects of alcohol on the body and the mind, the impact it has on our decisions and the consequences that can come with it. It will give our students an awareness of alcohol that a lot just don't have, especially those who regularly participate in underage drinking or could be susceptible to it. This training will hopefully make teenagers more informed when making decisions, which can only be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a training for the teachers. It's not somebody coming into the school to talk about it.
No, it's training for the teachers and pass it on. So
that's teachers being asked to do more work.
Signed up for, yes.
I wonder, did they get a pint when they go into the training? Or after it?
They will murder.
But just wondering.
Thanks for doing a little bit of work here. But like sex education, the more informed you are, the less likely you are to do it.
Social occasion. But listen, it's a good thing.
Can't take them anywhere. I mean,
now, we're going to be talking to Ian, of course, from Rare Irish Finds as well, which is all about finding cash in your attic, Alan. So...
I know, love.
So we have a couple of messages in. Susan has asked, my mother had a brooch that was passed on from her mother, which has been passed on for her mother. My mum passed away in 2019. Sorry to hear that, Susan. And left the brooch to me in her will. Out of interest, I went to get it valued last year. Surprise, it was worth €500. I will never sell it, though, because it has got the sentimental value. And that's what I wonder. Like, if you knew something is worth a fortune, but it's come through the family tree, would you sell it?
Not
I suppose
if
how hard up you are, maybe, but...
If it's a great. But we've got something from Daniel O'Connell and we haven't sold. Like, we wouldn't sell that.
What's you got from Daniel
O'Connell? Something. He's a relation. He's a relation. It's been passed down through the family.
I like this one as well. Terry has said he collects autographs. He collects autographs now. And he said that more people are now interested in getting selfies.
Yeah, nobody asks for an autograph anymore.
So he thinks that actually autographs are going to be worth more in the future because nobody has them.
Well, yeah.
If you're looking for a Tommy Bow one, come to me. His is terrible. I know how to do. I know how to do his signature already. It's a T and a B. That's it. That's all it is.
Not going to be worth much.
Liam, I found a load of comic books in my old bedroom recently as my parents are selling the family home. So a big clean-up is an operation, trying to figure out if there's any value on them. Fingers crossed, I'm sitting on a fortune, and we will tell you later on how to find out, Liam, whether you are or whether you're not.
But they have to be in good condition, though, don't they? That's the thing.
Yeah, mint condition. Because that's I know that even old PlayStations and old Atari computer games and stuff, because I'd say loads of people have them just stored away, but they have to be in the original boxes, have to have original cases.
You've a lot of stuff.
I had a teenager describe something as vintage the other day. It was from 2004. It was a pair of jeans from 2004. I'm wearing vintage jeans. I was like, I am going to murder.
It was a CD, probably. No.
Vintage. I'm listening to vintage music. So we're going to be talking about that in a while. 0896 111 111 if you want to send us in any pictures of, antiques. After the break, we're going to discuss the challenges of dating in rural Ireland with author Liadan Hynes. Talk to you shortly.
Now, dating in rural Ireland can be a bit tricky in smaller communities. So how are people meeting each other?
It can be tricky anywhere, really. You've got a lot of people just having nightmares with it. Author Liadan Hynes has been finding out, and she joins us now. Good morning, Liadan. It's lovely to have you here.
So nice to be here, Maureen.
Because it's your publishing day of your brand new book, Courtin'. You say it very well. Courtin'. Tractor dates, macro babies, and swiping right in rural Ireland. So you've been going out interviewing people for 2 years for this book to find out about dating in rural Ireland.
I have, yeah. It was amazing to get to do that at a time when we were so kind of disconnected from each other because of the pandemic, to get to travel around, obviously when restrictions allowed. Should just preface it by that. And yeah, I suppose the feeling was, so much has changed in terms of how we meet people in the last kind of 15 years since the app started. But, you know, you hear so much of urban-based stories about that kind of thing. You don't really hear that much about what was going on in more rural settings, in smaller communities, more isolated settings. So that was kind of the starting point, was to look at, you know, almost like the technical kind of logistics of, OK, if you're on the apps and you're living in a small town, are you bumping into the people you went to school with, you know, and is that a bit mortifying? Or are you having to accept that you're going to have to travel because you're going to burn through everyone who lives near you fairly quickly? And this is...
Wow.
Okay,
you'll have met them, you'll have there.
Thank you. You'll have seen them and you'll have gone yes or no.
Well, I had a friend who said he completed Tinder because he got to the end. But it was only because he was in rural, he was in an area in his radius. There's only so many people
there you go.
on
And
it.
so he probably had to travel. So that was the other thing. That
What do you get when you complete Tinder?
Well, no dates. No more dates. And he would start again. I mean, so tell us, what are the differences that you found with people in rural Ireland compared to Dublin or Galway?
Okay, so definitely the travel thing is a thing. Like pretty much everyone I spoke to, it was a baked-in expectation that if they met someone, they were going to, you know, that person wasn't going to live within half an hour of them, that they might have to move. That was just really considered quite normal. But really quickly what became clear was the kind of almost tension between place and person, as in meeting a person. So people loved the lifestyle that a specific place would offer them, whether that was somebody who had moved to an island, somebody who had grown up on a farm, and a lot of the time they realised that living there might mean that might actually make meeting someone difficult because of the fact, like, there might be 200 people on the island, do you know? So, but the love of that lifestyle was such that they would almost risk that, and that became really kind of the main kind of overall theme, I suppose, of the book is, you know, this, like I say, that specific way of life, that a specific place. Like I spoke to one woman who lives in West Cork, and there was a small kind of line of coast that she would accept, and grudgingly she'd put the Tinder perimeter out to 20 kilometres. But, you know, it was really important to her that she lived here, and if she was going to meet someone, her chapter is called The Tinder Glitch, because Tinder threw up a guy in the next county.
Yeah.
And as it happens now, over the course of the interviews of the book, they met, and they've just had a baby, and he's moved there. And so, you know, you can't get around it.
Because there's such a community feel, particularly around rural areas, community Gaelic football teams, the rivalries. And then, of course, you have to be willing to maybe go to a rival, go to the next county.
Totally. And that can be really difficult in terms of, like, the early days relationship when you're trying to get to know someone. Like, I spoke to Graham, who lives in Ishman, and, you know, he was saying he'd met a lovely guy, you know, right up the top of the country. But, like, how do you get beyond, like, you know, going for weekend dates and whatever to, like, yeah, I'm ready to move into you and, for example, ask you to move to the island? Because it's very hard to get to know somebody when they're, you know, you're only really seeing them maybe every second week because there's travel and that. So that was definitely kind of a tricky thing. But then on the other hand, I suppose the apps, like everything on the internet, good and bad. So if you're in a small community, they open you up to, you know, hundreds, thousands of people you might never have met otherwise.
It's something I found from the book which was really beautiful. Obviously, there's an age factor. When you're in your 30s, you can jump ahead a few steps quite quickly. You know, it's kind of like, oh, OK, we'll move on. But it's the diverse nature of rural Ireland, because sometimes people think, you know, you have to live in a city to be open to more. That's just not true. Like you were talking to a transgender farmer, like there were people from all backgrounds involved in this. Like Erica, I remember hearing her on Liveline a few years ago, and she's fantastic to get the insight.
And I suppose her story was as much about the story of someone who grew up on a farm with a quite dominating kind of, you know, patriarchal father, and came into adulthood still working the farm and was never able to kind of be, I suppose, an equal partner. There was a farm partnership, but it was really, you know, not equal. And it's that story of how do you envision kind of having a family of your own when you're not, you know, you're not really you're an adult, but you're not an equal partner. So it was as much about that, but it was also, like you say, about coming out, and I suppose the response of her community, which was just gorgeous. Beautiful. Like when she rang her neighbour, one of her close neighbour farmer, and, you know, he said, oh, you know, we always thought there was something, and it was just no big deal, and it was just beautiful. So like you said, Tommy, it was that kind of community sense that was really gorgeous in so many of the stories.
Explain to me Macra babies. So what, I didn't know about Macra events.
Okay, so Macra is a kind of nationwide, I suppose, community-based organisation with branches all over the country. 17 to 35. And a Macra baby is somebody whose parents met in Mockra. So Mark, one of the stories, a 23-year-old farmer, he's a Mockra baby, and when he started going to his branch, you know, he'd go home and his parents would be like,
branches of this.
yeah, exactly. So it's like almost like I suppose you have the youth community, you know, you have the teen, and then you start Mockra when you're 17, and you know, people get really involved. And
what is it?
It's a social club.
Okay.
I suppose, and they'll run events. You know, there'll be like, if you look, every branch has its own Instagram account, so you'll see the kind of things. There'll be like walking events, debating. They have like Mr. Personality, Miss Blue Jean, Mr. Personality,
Blue Jean.
Yeah, I'm probably getting that title wrong, but yeah. So John, actually, who was Mr. Personality for 2019, is in the book, and
Mr. Personality.
Yeah, but like they talk.
Mr. Personality on the
he's
show.
Fantastic. You should. And like John, very, very beautifully spoke about how, you know, a lot of the men I spoke to talked about how communication online for them was really difficult, and they felt this pressure to kind of be really entertaining, and you know, and it was interesting because a lot of the women had said, I just get a lot of hi, how are you, and where do I go with that? But John and some of the other guys I spoke to in a chapter about Mockra, kind of, they talked about, you know, when I meet people in person, I can't, and like John, he is Mr. Personality, he's a gorgeous guy, and he, you know, he was able to chat away no problem, but the online thing was such an issue. So I suppose that was to show, like, and again, he talked about community and how Mockra is something, you know, that brings people together. So back to Mark, who was 23, when he started going to Mockra as, I guess, a 17-year-old, he'd come home and his parents would be like, and who did you meet? And, you know, they were their generation's kids. So, you know, there was that lovely kind of sense of continuation because his parents had met there.
Is it with Mockra na Firma? Because I thought you would have known what that was, you know, being from Monaghan or whatever, because it's everywhere around the country.
It is,
there's branches everywhere.
Yeah.
Is it a place that is helping rural Ireland, you know, hook up?
Well, it was very famously called by a president of Mockra, Tinder for Farmers. Now, everyone I spoke to who was involved in Mockra absolutely poo-pooed that idea. But, like, definitely, again, if you look at the Instagram accounts, you'll see pictures of couples who've met in, you know, and it's like any, because I suppose as well, you know, you get to the point, like, where the new people in your life start to drop off, whether that's you finish college or you're settling down in jobs, you know, and there aren't that, and you've met all your friends. So something like that, kind of bringing together, because there'll be different events between different branches, and then there'll be like black tie balls where they'll get loads of branches together. I just thought it was it's a gorgeous way of meeting people.
And they accepted a dub in.
Yeah.
They accepted it.
Yeah, they were very welcoming.
So Mockra the way forward, you reckon? Okay, right. Listen,
I'm now
Liadan,
the poster girl from
You are now that's it.
Liadan, thank you so much. Like, new book out today, Curtain Tractor Dates, Mockra Babies and Swiping Right in Rural Ireland. Unbelievable. Liadan Hynes, thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much,
joining
guys.
us to discuss that this morning.
It's a gorgeous book. Thanks so much for chatting with us. It's lovely.
Great crack. Now, coming up, if you have a wedding invite stuck in the fridge
from Mockra,
of course, and not a clue what to wear, then we have got your back.
We're over the catwalk, and next, talk to you shortly on Ireland AM. We know there's no such thing as wedding season. It's all year round, so you're going to need some goonas.
You certainly are. And Stylist Lorna Duffy is here with us now to show us some of them. Good morning to you.
Good morning. You can never have enough goonas. That's
right.
I couldn't agree more.
There we go. So we're going to do, this is all wedding style. We're going to start, we've got a midi dress first off with Chloe this morning.
Beautiful midi. So
we're taking inspiration from Rebel Wilson.
So we never really think of Rebel now when it comes to the old fashiony bits and pieces. But what I'm taking from this is the colour. So that's sort of really nice, almost emerald green. We are seeing it everywhere at the minute. Designers are loving it, like Bottega Veneta, absolutely everywhere. So also we're taking away from this, that sort of beautiful feminine V-neck with the dress as well. So this is just stunning. So this dress here is, firstly, the most beautiful satin midi I've seen in a long time. Again, gorgeous emerald green. This is from Ohello Clothing. As you can see, we've got the beautiful accessories. So all of these are from Night and Day Jewellery. The emerald ties in perfectly with the dress. A little bit of sparkle, and yeah, I mean, just look at it. It's just so elegant, it's feminine, it's absolutely beautiful. It just falls perfectly. Gorgeous,
it really does.
Doesn't it just? Absolutely beautiful. Falls perfectly. Lots of different sizes available in that, from small, medium to rust. Also available in rust and a white, but small, medium, large.
Lovely back
Look
to
at the
us.
little bow. It's just absolutely beautiful. So elegant. And obviously, you know, it's autumn. Not too cold yet, but like coming into winter, if you have a winter wedding, throw a little faux fur shawl or something, maybe a cropped jacket might be quite nice with that as well. Lovely little silver clutch then to go. This is from Murphy Shoes in Bantry. Not only do they do shoes, they also do clutches.
There you go.
Perfect. So Really, really nice size. You're going to fit all the essentials in there. Also comes a little crossbody chain as well, so you can throw it over for the end of the night.
Silver shoes with that.
Yes, absolutely. So beautiful little ring to tie in nicely with our necklace, and then that gorgeous little bracelet as well, and then a nice little pair of silver straps to tie in with our silver accessories and our little clutch as well. So,
and the thing with emerald green is that, of course, you can go gold, but you can clash it with yellow. You can do so much with it to change it up.
I couldn't agree more. You can really mix it up as much as you want. But yeah, just the dress speaks for itself.
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
Now, you're telling us that blue is the new black, and we're getting our inspiration here from Lily James.
Yes, Lily James. So what I'll say is, people automatically think, you know, autumn, winter, we need to go for the greys and the darker tones and the navies. So here we are going for similar style dress, halter neck, silk-like again, but we've gone for a pop of colour. We've gone for a beautiful blue here on Noma. Absolutely stunning. As you can see, you've got a little subtle detail with the animal print on the dresser as well. Really elegant halter neck style. If the strap detail isn't your thing, we've gone for the halter. So we've gone for some beautiful little gold hoops here with a beautiful royal blue stone to tie nicely with our blue, the blue in our dress. So absolutely beautiful. Again, keeping it quite subtle. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of print going on with our dress. But I mean, just look at it.
It's like, fabulous.
Isn't it just so nice?
Is it meant to be sort of tucked in? Like, yeah, it's all sort of ruffled up and slanted to the side.
It's ruffled in all the right places. It's so elegant. I feel like you don't see enough of those sort of halter neck style dresses as well.
No, but seeing this style an awful lot more this year, where there is ruching on one side, you are showing both shoulders.
That's exactly
more going on.
So a lot of that ruching detail and there's kind of just unusual shapes and sizes, absolutely beautiful. But again, I just like the way it cinches in nicely, but you have that sort of extra room, and it's just beautiful. It falls beautifully. And this one here is available, again, lots of different sizes, starting from a size 6, but just absolutely stunning.
And will it go? What size will it go up
Lovely.
to?
So this up to a size 16.
Okay.
So really nice, and it is quite stretchy as well, I'll say.
Okay.
So really, really nice little gold clutch then as well. So a little bit smaller, but again, you've got a little chain in there you can tie or use as a crossbody bag if you wanted to. And then beautiful, sort of like an off gold, not quite, more of like a metal, sort of with that cross strap.
Yeah, the pewter sort of a thing. It's cool.
Yeah, so it ties in perfectly with the clutch, but again, absolutely beautiful. And again, the heels, you know, they're a nice heel, but they're not too high, so you can dance the night away at the wedding.
It's all to one side and then it's slanted.
Yeah, it's different. So that caught my eye. Very, very nice.
Now, the maxi must-have, Victoria Beckham.
So the maxi, because Victoria Beckham can do no wrong, really, can't she? Absolutely beautiful. So what I'll say is here,
our investors aren't saying that at the minute, but I'm sure she'll sort it all out.
So the maxi dress we are seeing ever at the minute. It is here to stay for autumn, winter, as are those animal prints. So absolutely beautiful. We've gone for a slightly similar look here, but again, we're adding the colour. We're really injecting lots of colour into our looks this morning. So again, we've got that V-neck, we've got the slightly longer sleeve, the animal print, and again, that sort of midi style dress. So again, with our accessories, we've got a beautiful pair of earrings. So we've gone for a bit of silver. Again, so we've got silver star drop earrings, absolutely beautiful, really good price point again. And then our lovely little matching necklace. Again, a little bit dainty because we've a lot going on, obviously, with our animal print in our dress as well.
And it is all about this dress. Those
the dress
shoulders
isn't just a showstopper.
Amazing.
So this is from an Irish online boutique, Alicia and Chloe. It is just fabulous. So it's limited edition. They have the most amazing selection of formal wear pieces for all kinds of occasions. That sort of 80s style puff detailing on the shoulder. Again, the animal print. I just love the way the purples and reds and black print just really tie in. Obviously, it's a wrap style dress, so we're tying it in. And again, lots of sizes available in this, but I just love the colour.
But those shoulders, like I know you've got there yourself.
I'm like the Dynasty
vibes. Those shoulders are everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere at the minute. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful dress. Again, we've got a nice little red clutch. So it's patent, but also suede. So kind of two-tone clutch. Beautiful. Again, you've got a chain there if you wanted to use it, kind of a crossbody strap. And then we've got a beautiful little sort of tennis necklace or bracelet as well. So really, really nice.
And you would
bit
keep
of sparkle
everything
as
minimum
well.
this because the dress is saying a lot.
The dress is a showstopper, so it speaks for itself. And then we've got a beautiful pair of nude cords. Again, nice sort of small heels, so you can dance the night away at the wedding. But it's just a really, really elegant look. Absolutely beautiful.
Finally, we have a colour pop with Anne Hathaway.
So with Anne Hathaway, first of all, she's wearing a very, very crazy out there dress. So what we're taking from this is two things. firstly, the pop of colour, the really vibrant, fun, bright, playful colours, and also bright with bright.
Yeah.
So we've got
the Barbie core thing, because Barbie movie is going to be everywhere.
Absolutely, exactly. So again, we'll start off with our accessories. So obviously we've got a lot of detail with our dress again. So we're going for, you know, I suppose a statement earring, but again, we're leaving out the necklace because the earrings again speak for themselves. So a little bit of sparkle, gold, absolutely beautiful. Again, fantastic price point, clear stone. Beautiful, beautiful dress. I mean, look, can we just take a moment? So firstly, the style of dress, wait for it, prep style.
Yeah.
The detailing, the ruching, again, just the detailing on the sleeve. Obviously, we've had our sleeveless, we've had our longer sleeve. Now we're going for that sort of midi sleeve.
So with the ruching, if you're a bit, you know, if you're conscious about your stomach area, this is probably a good
This
sort of a
is,
dress
yeah.
to
So,
go
I mean,
for.
obviously, you're going to stay away from the body cons. Obviously, a midi style, if you're a bit kind of self-conscious about that, it would be a good option.
Right.
But again, that ruche sort of prep style detailing is absolutely the way to go. Love the print and the colour. We've teamed it up nicely then with a beautiful little bracelet. Again, it's layered, it's all one, and a gorgeous little clutch as well. But again, just, I mean, look, the dress, again, speak for itself. Absolutely stunning. We've gone for a beautiful pair of magenta strap heels then as well, just to tie nicely.
Yeah, and you can pick up the orange, the blue,
That's
or
exactly
the magenta.
it. And again, it's all about kind of going with, you know, the magenta, the pink shoes with the pink dress, just like Anne Hathaway had, or like the pink clutch with a pink clutch with a pink dress with pink shoes. So
going for
colour and colour and colour, basically.
Lorna, thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Now, coming up next, from collectibles to antiques, we'll be helping you spot a bargain after the break on Ireland AM.
Next guest has a passion for antiques that might just put some cash in your pocket.
Owner of Rare Irish Stuff and presenter of the TV show Irish Pickers, Ian Dowling. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us how you got into it? Because it's quite interesting.
Yeah, well, I was always kind of into old stuff, and I used to go around markets and things when I was younger. But I came across a baby monitor in a church fete, like that was 50p.
Yeah.
I put it in the buy and sell for 25 quid, which was the going rate at the time, because it was kind of quite high tech at the time. So, yeah, and I sold it. It was boxed in a new condition, and I sold it for 25 quid, and I was just hooked after that.
Okay, so
I'm always chasing
That's a big profit.
It's the Del Boy over here. Like, do you see this is really popular among people? Because, like, you see shows like Antiques Roadshow and Rare Irish Stuff is your website, I think, as well. Like, there's always like, I'd say a lot of things, even here, people will have seen at home in their parents' or grandparents' homes.
Yeah, so I brought in a few things that I think a lot of people could recognise that were in their parents' home or their grandparents' home, and then a few bits that I've kind of found that were, you know, more unusual things, unusual treasures that kind of, they're the big ticket items that I'm always kind of chasing, that buzz that I got when I was 10 years old.
That's the one I want to take home. The Beatles. Is that the signatures of the Beatles?
There is, so 1967 Time magazine, it was a Beatles special, and that's signed by the four Beatles. And the lady I bought that from, her dad was really interested in music, and he went to the Isle of Wight festival, and so he actually got a Jimi Hendrix Experience record signed, and a Tommy album just there signed by The Who, and also a Doors album. So I bought them as a collection. She wanted them to kind of, they were just under lock and key and stored away, and she didn't really have much interest, so I bought them as a set. And yeah, that was a fantastic find. I got a great buzz out of it.
And is this a collectible for you now? It's something you want to keep? Because obviously you must keep some stuff.
Yeah, I keep stuff for a little while, and then I kind of pass it on to the next guy, and I take a bit of profit out of it. So with things like that, I enjoy having them for a little while, and then I'll pass them on to the next guy and take my profit then.
And I have to, because, you know, you talk about rare Irish stuff, and we're all wondering, can we make money out of stuff that we have at home? These cannot be rare. I think, like, every grandparent of my generation, certainly. I'm pretty sure these are still in my grandma's house.
Yeah, that's why I brought them in, because everybody can instantly recognise them as something that their grandparents had. And they're not rare, but there are some that are quite unusual, and they're quite collectible, and they're worth.
They are collectible.
They are, yeah, absolutely. It's all tied back into nostalgia, I think, because you know, I mean, I had them in my grandparents' house when I was growing up, and I used to look at them, and I think a lot of people then have the same kind of. So they've become like
Like,
for
I'd
that
love
reason.
to have them in my house, and then you've got
Exactly.
a partner who won't
Exactly.
let you have them in your house. You know. So
Would you like to have them in
I
your
would
house?
absolutely love to have them in my house.
I think it's the nostalgia of them.
Upstairs
You know,
in the
it's the
attic,
same as the
that,
Flying Ducks, like, because they were more our parents' generation, and they would have been up in the 60s, 70s, well, maybe 70s, 80s.
The Flying
more so.
Ducks here?
Yeah, so for the same kind of reason, they're kind of, people want them now because they remind them of their youth and growing up and that.
This
you
is
know.
more me now. Italia 90 memorabilia, like the jerseys, the
Yeah.
sticker. I used to have the coins, I think. From
Yeah,
like,
yeah, Centra.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Centra
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. And what do you have? You have Jack's World Cuppa here as well, Jack Charlton.
Yeah, so that's just one of the example of things that were kind of, I mean, the market was flooded in 1990 with different kind of things that were celebrating.
Oh, they were
what we'd
flogging
done.
anything back
Yeah,
then. Champion
exactly.
Milk had, I wonder if
Yeah.
had probably a few old Champion Milk cartons as well, with Jack in the front of it.
All that kind of stuff is kind of, I mean, now there's not a market for it outside of Ireland, but for here, I think a lot of people, like that Jack's World Cuppa, just classic kind of Italian 90 memorabilia, you know.
And they don't seem to do that anymore. You know, not as much. Like, you know, when you used to get stuff in your cornflakes.
Cereals,
You know,
yeah,
like I was
exactly,
obsessed
yeah.
with stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
know that some of those are collectibles now, like things like that.
Yeah.
People who have sets of the things, the bike reflectors or the
Yeah,
stickers.
exactly.
Yeah, or
yeah.
those.
It's all tied back into nostalgia. I think people want them because they remind them of their childhood and growing up and that type of thing. But yeah.
So what's the best way for people to find out, you know, what might be worth money or what's actually just a load of rubbish?
There's a few different ways. I mean, if you're talking vinyl and books and stuff like that, you can go onto online marketplaces like eBay and that and have a look and get a suss on what kind of what the going rate is for certain records and books and stuff like that.
And is it giving it a lash, kind of going, OK, so I've got this record and there's that record there, I'm going to price it the same and see if anyone bets on it? Or not
Yeah,
bets,
well,
whatever.
you can kind of suss out what other people are asking, and then you can kind of get an idea then of value. But it's always good to check out a few different ways. I mean, there's a website called valuemystuff.com, and there's a few different appraisal websites like that. So you can go on there and you can send a photograph of your item, whether it be the dogs or the ducks or a record, and they'll give you an appraisal of what they think it's worth for a fee.
Okay, so for, I think it's around 30 quid, whatever, to
Something
get
like that,
a
yeah,
fee on
exactly.
that.
And like an antique dealer or the collectibles dealer will be assigned to that piece and give you an idea of you know, give you an appraisal. You can also go to auction houses as well.
Yeah.
They'll charge 10 to 15% of the hammer price, but they'll give you an appraisal in the process. And if it's a higher value item, they'll kind of let you put a reserve in.
There's two things here that I'm quite interested in. And it's not the McDonald's. I'm sure that's where the McDonald's ashtray. You're not going to be getting one of those anymore. But this is a letter from Eamon de Valera to Ina Connolly, the daughter of James Connolly.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you come across this?
It was in a writing desk for 40 years, and I got a call and just to take a look at it. And I hadn't seen the light of day for 40 years. And it's really actually... It's very fascinating and quite historically important because it gives an account, Eamon de Valera's account of his interactions with James Connolly, and it was to James Connolly's daughter, Ina, and really fascinating. And I'm not sure if there's an account like this out there. So it just gives you an example of there are treasures.
Sitting at home.
Tied up in someone's drawer as well. And
100%.
we have to talk about the book then as well, beside.
Yeah, so that's Christy Brown's first book, Down All the Days, and it's signed by him.
Signed by him?
With his left foot, you know.
That's incredible.
So, 1970.
Chris Brown to you, May 1970.
It's not insane.
Yeah.
And, like, how'd you come across that?
Again, it's just people have these things and they look to sell at some point, and that's where I come in. I'm just kind of a middleman. I would buy something, sometimes I'll keep it for a while and then I'll pass it on to somebody else and I'll take my profit out of it.
And I know you did Irish Pickers TV show. Is there a lot to be found around Ireland?
I think so, because I think that we hoard stuff here in Ireland.
There we go,
I think
we hoard.
do. We don't like to throw things out, and that's the right way to...
Ian Dowling, listen, amazing, love that. Presenter, of course, Irish Pickers, and Rare Irish Stuff is your website. A lot of people can get in touch with you there too.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Brilliant.
Cheers, lovely to have you.
So you can have this,
I love
and I'll have the tea.
Alan, pick something. No, he's not.
You can have it all. On tomorrow's show, we'll be finding out why more men in their 20s are getting vasectomies. Patrick Bergen will be telling us about a new initiative to get people writing poetry. Plus, Fair City's Brian Murray will be in studio to talk about his recent Alzheimer's diagnosis. We'll see you tomorrow from 7.